So our next participant is Rahul. Rahul is an architecture student of the 8th semester. His interests range from art, technology, gaming, video and photography, among other things. Within my designs, he tries to incorporate concepts from within his peers to achieve an unique identity to my structures. For his 8th semester design entitled FIKA, he has chosen to incorporate these concepts and ideas into a performing art space for a post-pandemic world. As an aspiring architect, his aim is to create his own design identity and language that would change our perspective of architecture going into the future. His awards include special mention in NASA Louis Kahn Design Trophy 2 2019 and first place Acharya the Square Design Trophy Memorial for the fallen soldiers of the Pulwama attack.
Good afternoon guys, my name is Rahul. I am from the 8th semester and today I'll be talking about my 8th semester project, which is FIKA Performing Art Through the Eyes of Pandemic.
So I've chosen Jayanagar as a site because it's mainly a commercial and residential district. But being a primarily residential district itself, it lacks a performing arts center in the area. Despite having so many residents and so many families and different cultures put together, there's a lack of a performing arts center, and this is why I chose it as my example for my post-pandemic design. So the area I've chosen is near Yediur Lake. It's around 5.13 acres. This was then later expanded a little bit, and it's on the RV Road. We can move to the next. Okay, this is my case study that I had done. This is one of the international case studies that I've done. It's for the Musicabari Center of Performing Arts. It's in Spain. It's a performing arts center that's mainly deconstructive in nature, as you see. A lot of steel scaffolding and usage of materials such as timber, concrete, and steel itself. And my inferences from this was, since I wanted to take a very deconstructive way to my design ideology this time, I chose this as one of my main case studies. And as you can see on the right side, there's a 079 story center. This is my public case study that's local to India. Okay, here are the three concepts that I followed for this semester's design. Valhalla and Scandinavian architecture very closely related. Scandinavian architecture I chose as a concept because it embraces what we need in a post-pandemic situation. That is integration of nature, utilization of natural light, comfort, functionality, and a creative use of natural materials. So I thought that could come in handy in an Indian subcontext when we're thinking about the future and trying to make places more safe, more clean, and overall just a better place post. And also deconstructive architecture, which is more abstract. It has contrasting shapes, forms, and a lot of exposed materials. So I try to keep all these three concepts stitched together for my entire design ideology. Yeah. So this is the master plan for my site. As you can see, you have the main entry on the RV road, followed by which you have an outdoor amphitheater, a pavilion walk, my main building, and you have parking for up to 150 cars and bikes, and a rear service entry. So from the service entry, you can come to the SAP services area, or if there were any goods, costumes, for example, to be delivered, they can directly go to the main building and get delivered. Yeah. These are my floor plans. There's two primary floors, my ground floor and first floor. Ground floor consisting of the main studios, classrooms, and the first floor consisting of the meeting room, your studios, as well as a large indoor theater. So the indoor theater is for theatrical performances, musical performances, for dance, etc. For all these kind of things. It's directly located above the Dramatics Club within the building itself. So it's connected with an elevator at the ground floor where you have the Dramatics Club. On the first floor, it's directly connected to backstage of the theater space. And in between the first and second floor, we have a mezzanine because it's a performing arts center. Normally for dance studios or for theater studios, the ceiling heights that are given are normally 6 meters in height, which is like double the normal floor height size. So what I've given is a mezzanine floor for the office spaces on the right side of the building. So while on the ground level, you have your main principal's office, etc. On the mezzanine floor, you could have your staff quarters and basic staff space. These are two elevations that I've shown, your front and rear elevation. As you can see, I've tried to take a very minimalistic approach with terms of colors, but try to keep it decomposed, a lot of exposed materials, and uh, the concept of Valhalla you can see in the cooling tower come elevator shaft that you can see in the middle of the building. That stands out and it's meant to be like an icon, the first thing that catches your eye when you visit the site. So that main space itself is 22 meters high, the tower in the middle, with your first floor going up to 6 meters and your second floor again going up to 6 meters, excluding your theater space. Here are a few views of elements on the site. The first view, as you can see, is just your lobby space. It's once you enter the building, so you're greeted with a little bit of flora, and you have your staircases, your all the things in the building itself are of a massive scale. So once you enter, you think of it as a very grand, larger than life kind of structure. On the second view, you can see my cooling tower, which is also its elevator shaft. Third one is your entrance towards the theater. So that'll be a counter for booking tickets or for getting snacks or anything else to take into the theater. Number four is the pavilion walkway. This is what you see once you enter the site and move a little further. What you glance at first is the building, the walkway, and the cafeteria building all together. The next two side views are also external views of the building itself from the parking space and the cafeteria. So yeah, with regard to post-pandemic design, this was my main focus when it came to having this building as it is. And what I wanted it to be is an example for how we can use futuristic technology and materials in buildings of the future just to make spaces more safer for us as the public. So in terms of materials, what we've noted down is that the COVID virus normally stays on smoother surfaces for longer. It stays alive on smoother surfaces for longer. So from studies done by virologists in the US, you can see the best material to avoid or to kill the virus itself is copper, with only 4 hours of time that the virus is left to survive. Basically, glass or wood for that matter, the virus stays on for 96 hours. So for copper can be used for places where there's maximum human contact, for example, door handles or railings, etc. And also alternatives of copper or materials that have a compound of copper in them, such as brass, can also be used for such situations. Another thing that was given thought of the pandemic situation is ventilation. With regard to ventilation, dry air isn't very good for us because it makes us more susceptible to infection and helps it spread easier. So the indoor humidity should be around 50% in your structure. That's the ideal case. So this building would have to have a mixture of both your mechanical and natural ventilation, but mainly mechanical ventilation because it's a lot of studio space. It has to be very controlled. So ideally 50% of humidity should be there inside. That's the cooling tower that you can see for proper ventilation. I've given a terrace space on top so that you can go out, get some fresh air. And also, yeah, this cooling tower is made of aluminum, which again is one of the better materials to be used against viruses or against the spread of viruses. Now, the second post-pandemic design solution stage. With regard to technology, I think the best thing we can do is try to avoid places where maximum physical contact. So those would normally be doorways or handles or switches, for example, even in elevators. So motion sensing lights is one idea where you just enter the space, the lights automatically detect your presence and turn on, along with motion activated doors, touch-free switches, which basically have an infrared sensor to judge the proximity. So once you get your hand closer to the switches is when the lights turn on or the fans turn on, etc. And touch-free elevator button. This is a new kind of holographic technology that's being used now, where once you get into an elevator, what you see, these holographic switches are not what's actually displayed. It's a reflection of the actual switches. Or once you go to press it, the sensors detect which button you're trying to, and you can directly get it. So there's no physical contact in any. And the main thing, spatial arrangement. So I'll take my theater as an example. So if you see the theater space, the best thing to do post-pandemic is to avoid crowding. or to segregate people such that there's not too many accumulated in one place at the same time. So how I've done this is I've had large doorways or large entrances into spaces, multiple entrances, so there's no bottlenecking or crowding near the entrance or exit. There's a transitional space where you can have health checks and also a semi-open floor plan. The best thing about semi-open floor plans is these, I would think, is going to become the norm for architecture in the future in public spaces. Because what they do is open floor plans normally lead to mass infections, whereas closed ones would result in poor ventilation in the space. So semi-open floor plans are basically the whole block itself segregated into smaller spaces, but with good ventilation. That would become the norm of that's what I try to use into my studios and most of the public spaces, semi-open floor plan. So even though the pandemic is temporary, it's a safety measure.
Yeah.
So in the future, we wouldn't have to go through any of this again.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, that's what I think at least.
Okay. Okay, Rahul. Good work.
Okay.
Keep it up.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rahul, you can share your email ID. I think somebody is asking. You can share your contact
Yeah, yeah,
details. Okay, fine, good.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Rahul.